Welcome to Comfort Habit number 2. This is my final video for tonight. This is a chit chat. Okay? Which I just screwed up hitting this button on this damn phone, taking me straight to TikTok. Okay, so earlier today, this is a multilateral chit chat. So, two subject chit chat. Alright? And that alarm's probably going to ruin it. So, the first 30 minutes, we might as well talk about my TikTok chit chat and being blocked and everything. So I did a TikTok chit chat video here, whatever, about reverse racism and how it was a thing and how reverse racism does exist and how I have experienced racism from all three sides of my heritage. And sadly, how I mentioned it, most of my racism came from the black side of my heritage, and how many times I've faced it versus for white people, I faced it more like maybe 7 times in my life, and my life's still going. So there may be 7 more times before it's done, and it might catch up with the black people's racism, where I would need my hands and my toes, with my fingers and my toes, to count how many times I've had racism from black people versus white people, and how many times I've had racism from natives, which was only 2. So and being part native, I wasn't prepared for that shit, because I clearly wasn't exposed to enough native culture, so I didn't know. Now, amongst that, the young people that muted me and blocked me were black, who strongly believed that black people couldn't be racist, which is a load of shit, because all people have the capability of being racist. Now, you're in denial if you think that's bullshit. I mean, honestly, if you think that you can't be racist because you're black, you're obviously ingesting something that you probably shouldn't be ingesting, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Because the first second that you think somebody who is black can't be racist, you're lying to yourself, and you should probably stop doing that. I'm seeing if I stumble across these damn people, because if I do, I'm damn sure going to put them on blast and put them in this video. But the thing with this whole entire concept, is that when you think that no matter what race is out there, don't have some people in it that can be racist, and if those people match your skin tone, then you are sadly mistaken. You were sadly mistaken. Sorry, I was looking at a native TikTok about a skinwalker chasing a dude. And the thing is really, it's really eccentric that people think that because you're one race or another, that you can't be racist to another race, and that reverse racism does not exist, which is a load of bullshit. I'm living proof that reverse racism exists, but they wouldn't let me get into their box. And they wouldn't, they muted me, which is purely a sign of, we don't hear what your old ass has to say. And like I said, these kids were in their early 20s. At best, none of them were probably older than 25. And they would debate people just to be racist and say that white people can't experience racism. And first and foremost, let me apologize to anybody white watching. White people can experience racism from blacks and Asians and Mexicans and from themselves. That becomes classism, where you see poor white people living in trailer parks, where well-off white people will call them trailer park trash. I'm sorry, I do not call poor white people trailer park trash. That is not me, but that is something that other white people have called people that are white in my face and said you shouldn't hang with them because they're trailer park trash. And it's like, just because someone lives in a trailer doesn't mean they're trailer park trash. I grew up the majority of my life in the fucking projects. So does that make me project trash? And being mixed, I can walk in all 3 of these worlds and understand that people who think that white people can't be victims of racism, well, you're just walking with blinders on, because you're still not open-minded enough to believe that it's possible. And I'm here to tell you that anything is possible. In fact, more things are possible than impossible. Or if I may quote the Korean Admiral Zen, many things are impossible until they're actually done. You know, and people don't want to hear that because people don't like being wrong. All right? You're not always going to be right. I'm not always going to be right. But I am going to be closer to right than wrong when it comes to issues of race and ethnicity and shit like that because I'm mixed. I've been there. I've experienced the reverse racism. I've experienced the shit that you may never experience because you are actually closer to full black than I will ever be. So what am I supposed to tell you, that you can't believe that reverse racism doesn't exist? Then I would be lying to you, and I don't do that. You know, yeah, that dog's crazy. Sorry, still trying to find it because these guys have been on it night after night on TikTok about this little reverse racism shit. And I sit here and I say to myself, how old are you guys? You're in a different world than me. Granted, that's the floor creaking. That's not me passing gas. I do have a wedgie though. Not anymore. But the the whole thing is that you have to open your eyes and your mind to the realm of the possibility. You have to. You can't just look at the world one sided and be like, well, I'm black, so black people can't be racist. Yeah, we can. You know, yeah, we actually can be racist. You know, like considering the black people who don't want to date out their race because they hate other people of those races. So if you're a black person and you won't date a white person just because you hate white people, that makes you racist. If you're a white person, you won't date a black person or an Asian person because you hate whites, blacks, or Asians, that makes you a racist. I, on the other hand, only wanted to date black girls until I couldn't. But the only reason why I wanted to date white girls is because I wanted to prove how black I was so fucking bad. I wanted to be black more than anything in the world. I didn't want to be half white. I didn't know I was half native until the 5th grade. So I just wanted to be black. I just wanted to be black like all the other black kids. I lived in a black neighborhood. I didn't talk like most black kids in the neighborhood because my mama knew how to beat ass. I don't know what happened to her over the years. She's gone a little soft. But, it was that thing that made me until it was that same thing that broke me by other black people who would always tell me the one thing that I can never be is black. And then when you go to apply for jobs, the one thing I can never be is black. And I'd have to tell them, look, this is my birth certificate. It says I'm black. It has Negro written on it. So legally, I'm black. And I have to fill out this application as black. Now, as far as my acting and my stage career, I'm 48 now. I'm multicultural. Because back when I was born in the 70s, they didn't have shit like that. They didn't put you down as other. They put you down as what they saw your parents is by skin tone. My mom looks white passing, but she still has black written on her birth certificate. My dad is black passing. His dad was black. His mom was native. But he looked black. They wrote him down as black. All of my aunts on my dad's side. A couple of them actually have more native features. But they're all registered by the United States government as black. Okay? Or Negro. So, you can't say that reverse racism doesn't exist. Because I have faced reverse racism from black people. And I wanted to clarify that on the video. Did you know your experience isn't everyone else's experience? My experience isn't your experience. I pray you never have my experience with your own people. But for everyone who has faced reverse racism, whether you are black, white, or Asian, or anything in between, or let's go scientific, whether you are mongoloid, negroid, or caucasoid, whether you're those three, because those are the only human species on the planet, and then there's race. Okay? So if you're any one of those, if you fall into any one of those categories, if you're facing racism from your own people, then you know what reverse racism feels like. Pure example: North Korea, South Korea. A lot of North Koreans don't like South Koreans only due to the fact that they have freedom and North Korea doesn't, because they have a dictator who will kill you so much as you look at them and is friends with Dennis Rodman. North Vietnam and South Vietnam. What do they have in common? Same motherfucking concept, and that's why we went to war for North Korea and South Korea, and for North Vietnam and South Vietnam. Now, when we went to war with Japan, it was because they dropped the bomb on Hawaii, supposedly. But here's the thing on that. Kamehameha, the original King Kamehameha, was supposedly Japanese. So I don't know how that works, but, I could be wrong. But the encyclopedia said that he was, Japanese. And like I said, I could be wrong. And I don't care. I know Kamehameha II was part Polynesian. But it's the same thing with Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan ruled China. But Genghis Khan was not Chinese. And those things are up again. So that strange look on my face was me trying to clear this shit out earlier today. But Genghis Khan wasn't Chinese, but he ruled China. He also had a grandson who was half Chinese, and Kublai Khan, who also ruled China. So, a little messed up there because Genghis was Mongolian, and Genghis trekked all the way west, up through Russia, up through Europe, and they can prove that every 20 men or so is a direct descendant of Genghis Khan. So, hey, the Khans, they got busy, But as far as Asian on Asian racism, you have the rivalry of China and Japan. A lot of Chinese people don't like Japanese people just because they're Japanese. But that's been slimming down a lot over the eons. But prior to that, that's only because of the occupation that Japan had over China, which to this day, as long as I'm breathing, will never ever fucking make sense, since China was so much bigger than Japan. Japan clearly had to get them off guard and were maybe better at tacticianing, because they must have forgot that Sun Tzu was Chinese and he wrote The Art of War. I don't know how that works. Please don't take offense if that offended you if you were Asian. I'm sorry. But it was just using as an example of reverse racism. All right? And yes, I have watched my Asian friends debate the policy of Chinese and Japanese and the Philippines and shit like that. So, it's not an American thing, because a lot of American Asians, Chinese and Japanese and Koreans and other Asians, they tend to get along very well if they're Americanized. Where when they're in their homelands, there's homelands, not womblands, there's issues. All right? And even natives have issues. I have been in native TikTok for quite some time, and I have to prove my indigeneity to some natives, and other natives are like, we're all for mixed natives. And then there's the light-skinned and dark-skinned natives, or the white passing natives and the black passing natives, or Afro-Indigenous, and we're all fighting each other over shit that we can't change. So reverse racism does exist. Whether you want to see it or admit it, that's the difference maker. Because if it's not affecting you directly, then you don't want to see it, and you don't want to admit that reverse racism is a thing. Now that I've had you for about 15 minutes, so in 2 minutes it'll be 15 minutes, so I'll give you 2 more minutes of this, and then I'm going to switch topics, and I'm pretty sure that this alarm is going to go off in 7 minutes. So, when it comes to racism in general, they were talking on the live that the definition of racism is about to be changed to mean everything that has been classified as racism is now going to just be classified as being prejudice, which makes no sense on the earth of God why anybody would consider that to be a wise idea. Ah, shit. This box is gonna fall. I'll fix it tomorrow if it makes it through the night, or I'll fix it tonight. Anyway, it doesn't make any sense for you to change the definition of racism to the systemic definition of racism when racism is racism. It really doesn't matter how you slice it. Bigots, racists, they're basically one and the same. You know, if you hate me because of the color of my skin and my ethnic background, which is native, black, and white, if you hate any one of those ethnic backgrounds that dwells within me, you are a racist. Now, let me touch on that. Let me touch on that real fast. Regardless of who pissed you off and the color of their skin, all right? Regardless of that, if you hate all people for the actions of one person, you basically are a racist. If I was to say that I hated all white people because some white person called me the N-word, so I'm going to hate white people for the rest of time, okay, we have a problem. I got white people in my family. So, how can I not hate them if they're white, but I hate all white people? See where I'm going with that? Same thing with black people. Black women have done me wrong a lot. So I don't date them. I don't hate them. I just don't date them. They're not for me. They're not my preference. You should see how many times uncles and aunts have told me I need to date a black girl instead of messing with Asian girls and white girls. Well, here's the thing. I date who the fuck I want, and I'm dating for me. I'm not dating for you. And secondly, those Asian girls and white girls are the ones who actually respond to me as a human being, where the black girls have put me down for the bulk of my life. So I'm not going to sit here and wait for the right black girl to come along because I'm almost 50 fucking years old. Okay? So it's my life, and I date who the fuck I want. If you don't like the fact that I prefer Asian women over all other women, that's your problem. Not my problem. That's a you problem. And you have to accept that shit. I live my life for me. I don't live to please you. I'm done with that shit. Now, let's say I didn't like Chinese girls, but I date Japanese girls. Still kind of racist. Because, most people honestly can't tell them apart. I'm no different. Without knowing their last names, I'm in deep shit. However, there are some Chinese last names and some Korean last names and even some Vietnamese last names that are interchangeable. Again, this is probably due to occupations of countries under war at the time, where governments forced people to take the dominant country's last names, and they legally changed their names. Okay? Don't get into it. I've already gone down that central road before. I've had my friends that are Asian explain that shit to me. How can you have a Japanese chin? Yeah. They had a Chinese mother who had a child with a Japanese man by force, not by course, and his dad's Japanese. He's an R baby. That would be rape baby. And they didn't have abortions. No. Happens. Now, that being said, reverse racism. For all of y'all, as I close out, because this alarm's going off in 3 minutes. If you believe that reverse racism isn't a thing, you are sadly behind the 8 ball. And you are young, and you need to educate yourself. And for those idiots that's going to change the definition of racism, let's see if I can not have that alarm go off. It is not giving me that option. It usually gives me that option. Okay, it's still not giving me that option. Fucking A. Which means that alarm's probably going to go off. I'm doing everything I can to find it, but it's not giving me that option. And I commented on this comedian girl. Pause her. Come on, give me the option. Give me the option. It's not giving me the fucking option. Okay. The alarm's going to go off. And when it does, we'll be changing topics. But again, the definition of racism is a person who hates someone due to their ethnic group or their cultural background. And now they want to change it to something else that the black girl who muted me, K something or another, debated about earlier today. And she debated about the other thing on some cat named Almighty's page or whatever. And let's see, come on, give me the option. Give me the option. Okay, it's not giving me the fucking option. Okay, so they muted me because I asked a simple question about reverse racism. It's pretty much the gist of it. I'm not angry about it, but I'm a little besmirched, as William Weagle would say, because you aren't looking at all the possibilities or the aspects of other people's lives. You're only looking at yours. And granted, they were black and they were female. I get it. But you're not the only ones who are victims. And you're victimizing other people who are older than you that have been down that road that you haven't stepped foot on yet. And we've paved the way, so hopefully you don't have to. But you still should listen to people who are older than you that have been down that road. I ain't saying you need to do what they say, but you need to take and open these up, learn how to hear as well as listen. And now we can go to the other topic of discussion, which is hot girls dancing in shorts. Sorry, no, it's not hot girls dancing in shorts. That's just what I'm looking at on this phone from TikTok. My bro Fred sent me this. I will thank him, and I will pause this video as she is in her Jack Tripper tight ass shorts. Anyway, moving on. So the other topic is accountability and acceptance. And probably trying to figure out that living on the fuck you, I do what I want versus doing the right thing is a problem. It is more of a family problem for my family than probably anybody watching, which is why this is going to be the shortest part of the video. I come from a family of people who don't like to take accountability. Alright? They like to bitch and complain about me bitching and complaining about them not taking accountability or doing their fucking job when it comes to their children. And I go off multiple times about how I'm a 48-year-old man and I don't have anything because I've given up everything in my life to take care of y'all asses and your children, and no one goes, thank you, we'll do better, we're sorry. So, over Easter weekend, me and one of my siblings, it's that same sibling that sadly lost her child last year, and she still has 2 other children, and she didn't like what I said. But it had to be said because she's grown, and she needs to understand that the world does not evolve around you. My world no longer will be evolving around any of my siblings and their kids. I'm not doing this shit no more. Find another way. I shouldn't have to give up my last 2 years of my 40s to take care of a job that you, who are like 42, should be doing in the first place because you chose to have children with men who didn't want to do their fucking job as men. Now see, this is the topic of discussion when it comes to women and babies and abortion and shit like that. See, you can have a baby. I'm all about the women's right to choose. What I'm not about is why I gotta do your man's job. I'm done with that. And damn near all of my sisters have put me in that bind, except for like my older sister who has no children. My younger sister, her husband, he steps up. And the sister above her, her last 2 babies' daddy steps up. But the first 3 baby daddies didn't step up. And with the sister above her, she was a problem. The baby daddy, all 4 of those babies, the daddy was a problem. And the sister above her is the one that I've had this issue with before. So on Saturday, her child had to go to practice. And she was outside doing something for her late son versus her living son. And I said this shit, and I'm not taking it back, and I may have hurt her feelings, and I don't have any fucks to give. Your living child is more important than your dead child right now. Which is what my words were. Because he came out and said, can you take me to practice? I looked him dead in his face and said, no. Your mama's right there. Your mama can take you to practice. She looked at me with stone cold confidence as if I was going to cave and break. And said, you can use my car to take him to practice. And I looked at her again. And I told her straight to her face, I'll be goddamn. You sitting right there. That is your child. I don't have children. I do not have to drop everything that I'm doing for me to take care of a problem. It's yours because you're right fucking there. Why the fuck do I need to take care of your problem when you right there? You're sitting right there dealing with this crate for your late child. And that's when I said, right now your living child is more important than your dead child. And you need to get off your ass and take him to practice because I'm not fucking doing it. Which eventually she did get up and go take him to practice. I don't know if they made it on time, but that's the thing. And then our mother, who won't take accountability at all. And see, the thing about people who won't take accountability, y'all gonna have a hell of a ride when you get to Judgment Day. You are going to have a hell of a ride. I own all my sins. And I know that I'm going to pay for them when I meet my Maker. And that's going to be about the only time that I'm going to be scared of the Lord. Because I do not fear him while I'm alive. Because I already know. Like Thanos, if the Lord wants me, I'm gone. It's not going to be no ifs, ands, and buts about it. And I'm ready to go. Because I've had a horrible ass life. I.e., the song that I just done turned my life around. That's more for me than y'all will ever know. I need to turn my life around. And it starts today. And it starts tomorrow. And it'll start every day after that. Because I got 40 some odd years to make up of taking the bull by the horn and taking care of other people's responsibility versus being able to pursue my acting dreams, versus being able to pursue my police dreams. They were all shattered because my siblings won't date decent men of color, but want to date gangsters and weed smokers and all that other shit. I'm not passing judgment. I'm just shooting out the truth there. I got nothing against you if you smoke weed. I got 2 rules. You smoke till your motherfucking balls pop off. Do not blow that shit in my face unless you want me to rearrange your face. Because see, if you get high, that's your thing. You can't force that on somebody else. I avoid drugs because I've seen what drugs can do to people. Alright? I've lost good people to drugs. I've lost great people to drugs. I've watched 2 people that I love OD on heroin. Well, let me rephrase that because I didn't actually watch them. I found them. Okay? One, I didn't have to get to the hospital. One, we did have to get to the hospital. I will never fucking do drugs. Period. Because of the shit that I've seen. One of my favorite uncles. I love him to this day. We have made up. I haven't figured out how to unblock him on my phone yet. But I will, because I'm stupid with technology. But as much as I love my uncle, he fucked up. Because you're not supposed to hurt the people you love, and he tried to put me in a fucking chokehold. We literally had a tussle. Not gonna say it was a fight. I'm gonna say it was a tussle. I went for a hug and found myself in a headlock because he was drunk as fuck. He wanted to drive my only car that I had at the time, the same car that my dad passed away in because he crashed and died. He wanted to take it down to get it fixed by his friend. And I'm like, no, you're drunk. That's the only car I have. You're not taking my car. So then the tussle happened. And when he tricked me and said, okay, it's done. I'm good. I'm going to go home now. And he put me in a headlock. And he started grinding my head. And I pushed him and I slid my head out. And he almost hit his head on the sidewalk. But I grabbed him and reeled him back up. And then it got worse. And then he slipped in the mud and did a leg split. And I told him, look, I don't want to hurt you, man. I know way too much stuff. I can fuck your shit up. And we got over it. Except for the next day after I got the car down there and he tried to attack me again while he was a little bit sober because clearly he hadn't forgotten what happened. But it wasn't like I beat his ass. I just prevented him from beating mine. And after that, I was like, you know what? I love this man because he's family. But as far as me ever spending another night at his house, in his house, or near his house, it's not an option. It's not. And then he did some other shady shit in between that, well, after that, rather, which led to us having our falling out when he brought up my ex and called me on the phone and tried to pretend that it was not him, but it was her. And I was like, dude, you ain't had no business doing that. And I was really distraught it broke the camel's back because at the time, I was still feeling like I could have hope of winning her back. And that was like maybe 4 years ago. Because like 2 years ago, I got over her real fast when I laid eyes on the flawlessly beautiful and breathtakingly dangerous Zeta Zhang. But, it was just the shit that he did that made me lose trust in him. Do I still love my uncle? Oh, fuck yeah. I'll love him until the day I die. Will I ever trust him again? That's going to take time. Because deep down, the only time I'm vulnerable is when these eyes shut. That's it. When these eyes shut, that's when I'm vulnerable. So I'm not going to go spend the night at somebody's house who I prevented from beating my ass without beating their ass severely, who's also has knives everywhere, and like me is also a vet. You never know what someone's going to do to you when you go to sleep. So yeah, I'm hyper paranoid. That's why there's always bags under my eyes, because I just don't trust people, especially when it comes to my life. And he didn't want to take accountability for that. But he did take accountability for the girlfriend thing because I recorded it, because phones save things. Then I recorded it on his laptop, which I took down to his girlfriend's house and played the video for him. And said, now tell me it's not you. It's not me. I said, well, then who the hell had your phone? I ain't let nobody get my phone. I said, so how the hell can it not be you if nobody got your phone? I said, nobody else knows about her outside of other family members here. And if they don't have your phone, and I got this off your phone with your phone number on my caller ID, so he did apologize. And I forgave him right then and there. But the thing with the chokehold, that's not so easy to forgive, because that could have ended my life. Or it would have forced me to end his. And that's that thing about like being street smart. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. That was his one. Everybody gets one. That's it. And accountability, a lot of people in my family just refuse to take it. They literally just refuse to take it. They refuse to own it. And that's a problem. And I know my family's not the only one, but you got to understand, you got to take accountability for your actions. You have to own it. Even if they're dirty and shady actions, you got to own it. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're accused of something and you know you didn't do it, then you fight for your rights. But if they have evidence that you did, you may have a fucking problem. You can still fight for your rights, but if you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're guilty, you're guilty. And that ends this video. I'm Echo Fang Grey Wolf. This is Kung Fu Havoc number 2. Be seeing you. Thanks for being there for me, y'all.